You hear this phrase all the time, especially when we're talking about AI in really high stakes fields like pharmaceuticals or manufacturing. The phrase is human in the loop, and it's always sold as this ultimate safety net, right? But is it? Or could that safety net actually have some pretty dangerous holes in it? Let's dig in. So, that really is the million-dollar question. Does just having a person sign off on what an AI does automatically make the whole process safe? We're kind of conditioned to think so. But the reality, as we're about to see, is way more complex, and frankly, it can be a lot more dangerous. And here it is. This is the sentence that should make everyone just take a breath. A bad human review process doesn't just fail to reduce risk. It can actually make things worse. It creates this false sense of security, this dangerous illusion that everything's okay, when in reality, huge problems can slip right on by. So, how on earth does that happen? Well, it happens when the review stops being a real check and balance and just becomes a ritual. This is what the source material calls symbolic review. It's where the act of approving something is just for show, a performance. There's no real power or intent to actually stop a bad decision. This slide just lays it out perfectly. Look at the left side, symbolic review. That's a rubber stamp, plain and simple. The AI spits something out, a person clicks approve. But then you look over on the right at an effective review. That's a real control gate. It has the genuine authority to approve, to reject, or to escalate. You see the difference? One is basically just theater, the other is actual safety. And believe me, these aren't just abstract ideas. We see these failures happen all the time in the real world. Think about it. You've got a reviewer who's just blasting through a queue, ticking boxes to clear it. Or maybe they're under pressure from a manager to approve a batch just to keep the production line moving. If that person isn't properly trained, or if there's no clear way for them to raise a red flag, well, the system is basically designed to fail. So, okay, how do we fix this? The answer requires a pretty big shift in how we think about this problem. We have to stop seeing human review as just a person signing off on something. We need to start designing it as a formal, robust control system, just like any other critical piece of engineering. It's about building a system with clear rules, safeguards, and processes. This diagram shows us exactly how to build that kind of system. It's an architecture split into 3 distinct layers. Down at the bottom, you have the evidence plane. Think of this as your permanent record. It logs absolutely everything. In the middle, you've got the execution plane. This is where the AI and the machinery are doing their automated work. But the magic, the real control, happens up here in the control plane. See how it's separate? It is intentionally decoupled from the automation below. This is where humans make their decisions, where they grant approvals and exercise real oversight. So, how do you build a control plane that actually works? Well, the thinking here is that it has to be built on a rock-solid foundation of 4 essential pillars. These aren't nice-to-haves. They are the absolute non-negotiables for any human review process that claims to be a real control. And here they are. Your review has to be independent, informed, empowered, and auditable. I want you to think of these like the 4 legs of a table. If you kick any one of them out, the whole thing comes crashing down. So let's break down what each one of these really means. First up, independence. And this one is huge. It's all about separation of duties. The person reviewing the AI's decision cannot be the same person who designed the AI. It just can't. And their job performance can't be measured by how many approvals they push through per hour. They have to be shielded from that operational pressure to just click approve. Without that independence, you don't have a review. You have a rubber stamp. End of story. Okay, next pillar. An independent reviewer can't make a good decision if they're working in the dark. They have to be informed. And that means seeing way more than just the AI's final answer. They need to see the why behind it, the data, the evidence. They need to know how confident the system is, what its limitations are, and what the real-world impact of their decision could be. If all they get is a black box output, an effective review is literally impossible. So our reviewer is independent and they're informed. The next step is to make sure they are empowered. Look, an approval only means something if rejection is a real, practical option. The reviewer needs a full toolkit of possible outcomes. Yes, they can approve, but they also must have the clear authority to reject, to escalate the problem to a higher authority, or to send it back and say, I need more evidence. If no isn't a viable answer, then yes is completely meaningless. And that brings us to our 4th and final pillar, which this quote just nails perfectly. In a GMP environment, a regulated environment, there's a golden rule. If it wasn't documented, it didn't happen. Every single review decision, who made it, what they decided, why they decided it, and exactly when. All of it must be captured as immutable evidence. This auditable trail is the only way you can prove your control is actually working. All right, so when you put these four pillars together, independent, informed, empowered, and auditable, you make this really critical shift. Your human review is no longer just a polite little nod, a courtesy. It becomes a core functioning part of your control system. So let's go back to our control plane diagram because now you can see all four pillars right here at work. The human review happens at these amber approval gates inside the control plane. Every decision made there is auditable, creating that permanent record down in the evidence plane. And the reviewer is empowered. See this formal dotted red line for escalate? That's a designed-in path ensuring that a rejection has somewhere to go. It's all part of the architecture. It is control, not chaos. Now, it is really important to be clear about the scope here. What we've walked through is the mechanics and the framework for designing a responsible and effective review system. What this does not do is tell you exactly who to hire for the job or what your specific day-to-day workflow should look like. That's a responsibility that your own organization has to figure out. And that really brings us to the final, critical question you should be asking yourselves. Take a hard look at your own processes where people and AI systems interact. Is your human review a genuine control system built on those four pillars we just talked about? Or is it just a courtesy? Is it a symbolic ritual that's giving you the illusion of safety while actually increasing your risk? In a regulated world, the answer to that question is everything. Thanks for watching.